Do I have to spell my name?
Yes.
Okay. And I guess I need to walk up here and check the microphone.
Yeah, we should be good.
Good afternoon. I'm Sergeant Chris Jackson with Huntsville Police Department. I'm the Public Information Officer. Spelling my name is CHRISJACKSON. We asked you guys to come here today to kind of give that last urging from a public safety perspective. If you're a non-essential personnel at your job, please stay home. City Hall itself is actually closed for non-essential personnel tomorrow. And to give you kind of that mindset of where does the police and the Madison County Sheriff's Office play a role in it, a guest person today that's going to be speaking is going to be Brent Patterson with the Madison County Sheriff's Office. I'm just going to go ahead and go with the quick things about public safety and where we play in this winter weather. So first, the prediction of the weather is looking at about potentially 5 a.m. in the morning. What does that mean for officers? Well, your officers are patrolling the streets, and as the winter weather starts to get closer and it begins to fall on the streets, they immediately begin to check your roadways, especially your roadways that are prone to freezing the quickest, such as your elevated portions of the parkway, your mountain overpasses, Cecil Ashburn, things like that. And they quickly will relay information if they notice slick spots to ALDOT, to Public Works to begin treatment. If it's obviously if it's not a state highway, then Public Works comes in. If it's a state highway, then ALDOT will be there. And it's a real joint effort that goes between the Huntsville Police Department, our Public Works, ALDOT, and the EMA Center to coordinate an effort for treatment of roads. Ideally, we work from main thoroughfares out, so you're going to get your main, most congested areas where you see your most traffic treated first, and then you're going to work outward from that problem to your secondary main travel areas. Generally, we do not have time to get all the way into neighborhoods to give treatment, but those main roadways that are in a neighborhood that can lead you to a bigger thoroughfare will be a targeted point of interest, I'm sure. One thing that we did run into in our onset of the winter weather last year was we had a lot of people that decided to leave their vehicles in a roadway. And we had two major roadways within our city actually become impassable, not necessarily because of the winter weather, but because there were so many cars. And in order for us to treat the roads, we have to have those cars out of the way. So if you are driving in this type of weather and you feel uncomfortable, you feel as though you need to leave your car and it's unsafe, we are asking you to move as far as you can to the side of the road so that if we do need to bring any type of equipment down that road to begin treatment, we can likely do it without even having to disturb your vehicle. Now, I would not encourage you to leave a car. A lot of times, even in my job as a patrolman, I've coached people how to get down off of hills and things like that back to a safer area to leave their car. Other things that I want you to consider, tomorrow as this precipitation begins to fall, dress weather appropriately. There were several times last winter weather where we were having to rescue people that were in blue jeans and a hoodie. It was very cold outside. Hypothermia can set in a lot quicker than you think. And then lastly, let's talk about 911 and the use of an emergency line. I am not telling anybody that is experiencing an emergency to not call 911, but I want you to think about before you call, is this an emergency? Do I need the police here right now? Because when this weather comes in, we do get flooded with 911 requests for patrol. So I want you to think just for a moment. And then last, that reminder, there is still some time to prepare. And remember, prior planning will beat poor performance. Thank you.
My name is Brent Patterson. I'm the Public Information Officer with the Madison County Sheriff's Office. Sergeant Jackson pretty much said everything, and I'll reiterate a lot of what he has already said. Over the next 24 to 48 hours, we will be collaborating with the Huntsville Police Department, Alabama Department of Transportation, as well as EMA. And the message is simple. We understand that there are those individuals who have to work. We understand that there are those who are going to be on the roadway because they have no choice. Our message is this: if you don't have to be on the road, don't be on the road. If you're on the road, you're not supposed to be there, and you get yourself in a situation, you're causing problems for law enforcement and the people on the roadways, because we're out there to help the people who can't help themselves, who get caught up in a bad situation. If you have an emergency, and you need to know the definition of a true emergency, we'll be there. But keep in mind, just like Sergeant Jackson said, make sure that you know that we're going to respond, but know that you're pulling a law enforcement officer away from someone in the community that may need you worse than they do. Monitor our social media platforms: Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all those different places are online places that you can go and see what's going on within the Sheriff's Office, as well as the Huntsville Police Department as well. Again, we understand that there are those who have to drive. If you are one of those who have to drive and you break down, make sure you remove your vehicle from the roadway. It's very important. It's things that we have seen over the past where vehicles are left in the middle of the roadway, which causes a worse hazard for the rest of the evening. This is not something that just happened with the news. We have outstanding media representation from meteorologists all week telling us this is coming. It's coming. Well, it's here. Hopefully it's going to be short-lived, and we're asking the public to help us. Help us to help you. If you don't have to get out, stay home. If you can't help us, don't get out and hinder us. Thank you. Any questions?
I mean, I got one. You're talking about us getting prepared, all the people getting prepared. How's the Sheriff's Office get prepared and the police department in terms of staffing? Is it normal staffing? You got extra guys? What's happening?
You know, we're prepared year-round. You know, just we get a little snow, a little bit of ice. This is something that we train for and we prepare for year-round. There are challenges, but when something like this happens, all hands are on deck. Everybody that is wearing a badge, wherever they're at, our badges are all the same. And when we're needed, we're going to be there. We're going to be closely monitoring the roadways. So back years ago, you had the news to report this type of stuff. You can get real-time information now. So there's no excuse of getting on the road and there'll be a road closed, down the street when you should already know it. So monitor social media, keep your eye on it, stay home, and just know that the Madison County Sheriff's Department, Huntsville Police Department, we're going to be there. But like I said, make sure if you have an emergency, we're going to be there every single time. But make sure you really need us, because all law enforcement this weekend are going to be extremely busy. We're going to be in the community. We're going to be on the highways. We're going to be making sure that the roads are safe. The workers, transportation, all here locally is going to be up to their neck in business this weekend.
When you talk about the road closure, is there anything that happens if you catch someone driving on that road, like a fine or something of the sort?
Barriers.
Yes, so as he was mentioning about preparedness, HPD and Madison County Sheriff's Office already have pre-staged barricades. We've partnered with Public Works to make sure that they're at all of our known areas where they're going to get icy, such as your overpasses of Parkway. If you are to drive around one of those barricades and get caught, it is a fine. You also heard from earlier in the day with our chief, if you are to go past that barricade and get into a wreck, we're going to come check and make sure you're injured. We're not working an accident. And as far as we're considered, if you're unhurt, you're on your own. The reason why it was blocked off is because we drove on that roadway first and determined that it was not safe. The truth is that a lot of people overestimate their ability to operate a vehicle in these type of conditions, and they don't quite understand how unsafe and hazardous it actually can be.
How much is that fine, do you know?
Honestly, it depends on your driving record is going to play a factor in it, and then also the number of citations you've been written in the past. I mean, just little things like to go around a barricade, some of these barricades, instead of going around them, they just drive right through them. So now you've got destruction of property, you've got criminal mischief. So if it's up barricaded, it's barricaded for a reason. We think it's unsafe. We don't think anybody should be driving on it. We're not doing it because we're trying to be mean or slow you down. It's just simply because we're trying to keep everyone safe. Because we do understand that there are quite a few people in this city that are essential to their workforce, and they are going to have to work. So our main goal on this onset is to create that safe avenue of travel and determine which roads are going to be the safest and most likely that you're going to arrive to where you want to be.
And I know you mentioned that neighborhood roads might be more slick. Are there any areas in the city, like the mountains, for example, that you would suggest people do their best to avoid?
As far as with any winter weather, the higher up in elevation you go, the more precarious the roads are going to become. Like the more slippery, the more likely that they're going to occur, right? So you look at the backside of Bankhead Parkway where it's extremely windy. You've got a lot of 90-degree turns. In fact, you got a 180-degree turn on that roadway. That is probably not a road I would want to test to drive down in these type of conditions.
When are you all going to start patrolling? Are you all start patrolling tonight?
All right, so patrol's a 24/7 gig. There's always people working first, second, third shift. They will be out patrolling, and it'll be, it's business as normal for the first part of the shift, right? There's not going to be any rain. There's not going to be any rain or any wet weather until later on in the evening. But the moment that you see wet weather start to appear, you start to see it fall out of the skies, that's when you're going to see your officers. They're going to immediately start driving up and down a parkway. They're going to immediately start checking your elevated portions, and we're trying to time out that time where, as patrolman, you're checking the parkway and you slip. Your car slips and you almost wreck. That's when you go, okay, now's the good time to probably have started treatment, right? And that's where they kind of transition and they shift into that period. As far as personnel, all the personnel in our police department are aware of this winter weather. Their vehicles are gassed up. They're ready to go.
When do your officers learn how to drive in the snow?
That is a really good question. They learn
On the job training.
they being from the South and that we don't experience this weather as often, we don't typically send them off to schools. But what I will say is this, that you kind of learn over trial and error as a police officer. I'm 13 years in this job. I've been through multiple of these storms. Remember my first time when this happened, I learned a lot about what ice does to a Crown Vic. And now we're in Ford Explorers that are all-wheel drive that handle these type of conditions a lot better. They also have a snow mode on them, which gears the vehicle down lower and actually makes it a lot easier to control the car. So what I will say is they kind of just learn on the job. They know to drive with caution, greatly reduce your speeds, greatly reduce following distance. As soon as your car feels like it's slipping, you let off the brake. You don't continue to steer into a turn. If your rear end goes out, you turn towards it so that you can straighten back out. But no, as far as like formalized training in these type of conditions, we don't send them off to schools. But a lot of your officers, especially when the onset of this storm is hitting, have a lot of experience in operating in these type of conditions.
So you've been working for 13 years and you've seen these storms before. What are the most common mistakes that people are making while they're driving?
The most common mistakes that you have when you're driving, you greatly overestimate your ability to handle your car. So you have this misconception from the public that four-wheel drive means I can go anywhere. A big, heavy four-wheel drive vehicle is a lot harder to control when you lose control of it, right? Now, on the same token of that, an ice, a really light car also has an issue with getting traction. But where you really see your issues is people's safe following distance is actually nowhere near the level it should be. Their speed is nowhere near as slow as it should be. your driver on the parkway is 50 miles an hour is your speed limit, and commonly you will catch people their reduced speed is only 40. And if you're on ice and you're doing 40 and you lose control, it's going to take you a minute to get that back under control. So when we say greatly reduced speeds, think about if you're traveling in this weather, it's not about how long is it going to take me to get there. My goal is just to get there. However long it takes me to get there is however long it takes me to get there. I'm not in a hurry. I don't have my radio turned way up, singing a song. I'm not sending text messages. I'm not checking Facebook for the road updates. I check that prior to getting in the car. And my plan is to make it there unharmed without being in any type of wreck. However long it takes me is however long it takes me.
One other important factor is to keep in mind, if you go around these barricades, you have an accident, not only are you going to have issues with a traffic citation, but you're also looking at your insurance not covering you on closed roads. And usually, I don't know of any insurance companies anywhere around that's going to cover you when you are on a closed highway, closed road, and you've been told to stay off of it anyway.
Y'all have any other questions? Okay. All right. Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.